Wednesday night, April 21st. You are alive with us at WrestlingInc.com, whether it be on YouTube, whether it be on Twitch, whether it be on Periscope, whether it be on Facebook, whether you're listening to the audio only because these faces are not meant for TV. Whatever it is, we're happy that you're tuning in live or archived here on Wrestling Inc.'s platforms. I'm Justin LaBar alongside Forbes.com's Alfred Konuwa. Alfred, how's it going tonight?
Great, and speak for yourself. I think this is meant for at least podcasting, So
yeah, well, we'll give you that, especially when Alfred's nice and groomed and manscaped up.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks everybody for joining us. We got some news headlines to talk about in the wrestling world, which we'll get to in a little bit. And of course, tonight, what is this? Week 2 of AEW being unopposed consecutively, as of course NXT now on Tuesday night. NXT, which I guess we'll just go ahead and note right off the bat here, and you can read about more of it on Wrestling Inc. NXT continuing to go up, still in the 800,000 viewership. That's where they were last week, but they have gone up some more. So again, the best viewership they continue to see since their Halloween Havoc days. So good sign for NXT. Last week, AEW, I think, what was it, 1.2 million, Alfred?
Yeah, 1.219.
So we'll have to see if this week, if that offers them up a higher number. Certainly feels like, as they're building to May 5th, this blood and guts, it definitely feels like that has the makings to probably be the best number they've ever had if they continue to build properly, which we will talk about all throughout this show here. So we'll get to see it. I mean, I don't know. Overall, before we dive into segment to segment, this show, not a bad show. Certainly some quality wrestling. Very, very focused, Alfred. This show tonight, Dynamite, very focused on their rankings and on people's records. They put more statistical application to this night than I can remember in a long time.
Absolutely. And they even had the segment with Britt Baker coming out and them doing the big reveal that she's now number 1, which I know they're kind of doing it as part of her character because she's been complaining about the rankings a lot, but I think that should be more of a thing. Maybe not do it too much, but kind of like how they do the ceremonial point to the sign at WrestleMania. People roll their eyes at that, but that's because WrestleMania means a lot. So they want to really focus on that brand. And for AEW to kind of differentiate itself, those rankings and the idea that somebody just became number 1 or the number 1 contender, treating it like a big deal like that, I thought was a really good television moment, and it's good for the brand of AEW.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, I mean, more than at least half of the match they'll talk about, they had an angle that they were harping up on commentary about what this, how this person got to be, or what kind of momentum they were riding. Kicking off our first super chat of the night, Jax Callis 299. Alfred, I didn't bring the steak to Vegas.
Well, that's a shame. We were talking about Jackson Callis yesterday on our NXT podcast about whether or not he brought the snake. But next time, Jax, that'd be great.
Yeah, he's already stunned me. I've gone through it. A pet snake, I don't think so. Again, I've always said this. No legs and a move has no business. I don't know how people do it, but he seems really like those snakes. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care if it's the Playboy centerfold with the snake around the neck. Get her out of here.
All you can see is the snake. You're just like, okay, no, I can't do it.
Exactly. All right, let's jump into the Dynamite action. They kick it off with Ricky Starks up against Hangman Page. And again, immediately, right to what we're saying, commentary putting over the fact that Hangman Page, your number 1 ranked AEW superstar. He has been such for 4 weeks now. He's undefeated in 2021 in singles matches. But Ricky Starks, he's 10-1, and he's on a 10-match win streak. So really kind of putting that over. Taz is also on commentary. And I'll say this, I think there's certainly critique. I have critique of the whole Team Taz and their booking and their overall presentation. Taz sounds so good on commentary, Alfred. This is not the first time we've heard him on AEW commentary, and certainly he was on SmackDown for many years, but he just brings such logic and oh yeah, he makes it feel more real, if that makes sense.
He's a tremendous broadcaster, and it's a testament to him that whenever they have 4 people in the booth, it never seems crowded when Taz is the 4th man. That's the talent in and of itself. And 3 people booth tend to sound crowded, but Taz always knows where to jump in, when to jump out, when to get his guys over, the story of the match. I think Taz was very good at kind of carrying this match. Even this match, as much as I liked it, it did get away from itself a little bit with some scary spots I'm sure we'll get into, but Taz was really good at taking that and immediately infusing it into a story of the match so that it seemed like it was still real and ongoing and it was supposed to happen.
Yeah, and before we get to that you just referenced there, just early on there was a point where Page kind of had this interesting suplex bridge pinning scenario on Starks, and Starks, in his version of kicking out, rather than lifting his shoulders, he just gave like a karate chop to Page's stomach, and Taz just made even a simple comment of you're trying to conserve energy, and so even something as simple as that, just to break And like, I mean, that sounds so minor, and I mean, I guess maybe to the more casual fans who might be tuned into this, that might sound like a trivial comment, but it really does add an element of, again, realness that's oftentimes has gotten far overlooked when things have become so just routine of 1-2 kick out the shoulder.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, they noticed how maybe Stark's a little nervous, going up against Hangman, and Hangman's got the veteran angle into this. But then we get a kind of a weird sequence here. Starks ends up getting Hangman Page German suplexes Starks, and Starks simultaneously lands on his neck while also having his feet land, to the point where commentary was split 2 and 2. Two of them sold it as, oh my God, Starks has just been dropped on his head. The other two save it as, no, he has incredible balance and reflexes. He's landing on his feet. And then that goes right into not long after he tries to do a little springboard. Starks does a springboard and then stopped where he's going to get clotheslined. Looked a little mistimed. Looked a little bit like the distance was misjudged. He gets clotheslined, but then he's favoring his ankle heavily. It really looks like he was bothered by his ankle. Ultimately, though, Page gets the win via submission. It's kind of like a reverse bulldog move while he's pulling on the ankle. But this match, I mean, Starks, scary.
Yeah, very scary. I mean, and there was a couple of things like you were talking about with the ankle where I don't know if he was selling it or because then we saw him do it later on tonight, but he had moves where he would only use one leg to get on the rope. So, he was working good on him, but it was very scary after that spot. And I do think that both things did happen, that he did seem to land on his feet and pop right back up and not have a problem, but he landed directly on his neck. It was very scary. And I think from then on, he was a little shaken up and naturally, rightfully so. I mean, He still finished the match and I thought he did a good job recovering, but he seemed pretty shaken up by that happening for a little bit as that match went on.
After the match, Taz quickly tries to, from the commentary table, tries to talk some smack on Page, telling him you need to watch your back. Hook comes from behind, hits Page from behind on the back of the leg, and proceeds to start to kick him. And I know Hook is extremely young, so I don't want to pick on the guy, but lay the kicks in a little bit better.
Yeah.
It looked like he was doing a tap dance number around him.
It did, and he had this coordinated move with his arms. He was like doing a Backstreet Boys like dance. It stood out like a sore thumb, and I'm sure he's promising he's got a great teacher and his father Taz to learn from. I'm sure we're going to look back on this years from now and laugh, but this was not good by Hook.
Yeah, not the best looking. Dark Order, so Hook is doing that. Ultimately, we'd see Dark Order come out. They chase off Team Taz to even the odds there. So overall, I mean, it was what it was. Hangman Page continues to be. I mean, he continues to be again #1 ranked, and momentum's there for him. I don't know what's next in his future though. Like, I mean, he doesn't seem like he's got anything that's getting ready to happen related to Moxley. Related, I don't know where I'd see him in Omega or Moxley. He's not fitting there with world title, I guess. But then TNT title, I don't know.
Yeah, and it does seem too early to do Omega versus Hangman Page because they aren't telling a greater story of this elite stable. And anytime they kind of try to approach Hangman Adam Page about it, it gets cut off to where they're clearly delaying the story being told. So I think even if Hangman Adam Page wrestles Kenny Omega anytime in the next year, I think it would be too early to go to that unless they're prepared to tell that story of them potentially getting back together or whatever they're going to do with the elite. I like the fact that not only is Hangman Adam Page kind of trumpeted as a #1 contender and he's #1 in the rankings, but he keeps wrestling. He keeps wrestling and putting that on the line to a degree where he had the match against Max Caster and now he has this week's match. So he is like a fighting champion as #1 contender, which helps the rankings. And it's a good question. I really don't know what's next for him because he's just going to associate with the Dark Order. But I mean, what kind of feud is that going to lead to?
Yeah, exactly. It does feel like they're kind of stalling. Like they maybe do have a date on the calendar circled of, okay, this is when we want to have Hangman Page's big moment be a title win, but it's not until September or it's not until we're back on the road or whatever the criteria is. It does feel like they're just kind of stalling. Like, well, we can't let him just fall by the wayside. We're not going to do a WWE here and just have him disappear from TV. Like, so it's kind of like, you got to keep his wins up, but he's just going to have to kind of have wins that keep him at the top of the rankings, but he doesn't activate and go in for a challenge, I guess.
Right.
So we'll keep an eye on that. Super chat coming in. Best in the smokers world, $10. Look at this one, Alfred. I met up with both you guys at Rookies in San Jose for WrestleMania in 2015. Glad to see you two doing well. Whatever Raj is paying you, it's not enough. Thanks for getting me through the evening, boys. Wow, that's Alfred. That's awesome. Thank you to this comment. Alfred, I think it's the last time you and I saw each other in person. Is that Did we see
Yeah,
that?
no, I think that is true. That was in San Jose after WrestleMania 31. You introduced me to Vince Russo, and he was a riot that night. I loved Vince that night. He taught me a couple things that I still think about and that still kind of apply to WWE these days that I will never tell anybody else. But that was a fun night, getting to meet you and getting to drink with you. That was a lot of fun.
I'm trying to, because I mean, the Manias, they start to run together. I don't think, like, after that one, I mean, there's some Dallas, there was some New Orleans, another New York. I don't think there was an Orlando, but I don't think we ever crossed pasts any of those.
I don't think so either. Yeah, I think that was the last time, because that was 2015. The next year, 2016, that would have been in Dallas, and I don't think we met up there.
No.
But that's really cool.
Well, trust me, folks, the Wrestling Inc. crew, once we, hopefully next year for WrestleMania, we are back in a more traditional sense, and we will be able to do this live in living color with some wonderful live super chats happening with the fans there in person. Awesome super chat there. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
okay.
Thanks, man. That was great.
Moving on, we got Penta L0M versus Trent. I'm Ron Burgundy.
What do you think about that, Justin?
I popped when Justin Roberts did the intro. He went Trent. I popped. I literally laughed out loud. I thought, I don't know, it's stupid, but it perfectly fits a guy in a group called Best Friends.
Right. No, that's all I needed to get it over too. Is that okay? Justin's on board. All right. Okay, we're doing this Trent question mark thing. Great.
Yeah, Trent. So again, looking at stats and facts, this they noted the first singles match for Trent in 2021. Of course, he was out a lot in 2020. Pectoral, I think, is what they were talking about. Yeah. So this leads into these two go back and forth. I'm a big fan of Penta. I'm a really big fan of Penta. This leads into a sequence that I thought was right going into the break. Springboard off the middle rope into a Canadian Destroyer by Penta. I mean. Folks, if you didn't see it, go find it. It's a Canadian Destroyer that'll make Bad Bunny blush. I'm telling you. They go to picture-in-picture. They go to break. Later, we get a pile driver on the apron by Trent. Alex, I forget his last name, is out there as Penta's translator.
Abrahantes.
Thank you. He gets on the mic and basically says, Penta says, Trent, you suck, your friends suck, and oh yeah, your mom sucks. You don't talk about Trent's mom. So that then leads to some shenanigans, distractions. Alex ends up getting the microphone, hits Trent with it. Penta wins with a package pile driver. This is what should have happened in my mind. Absolutely.
And this may have had more outside interference than I would have liked, but I think Alex Abrahantes really stole the show in this for me. I thought he was great in the pre-match promo, just how animated he is translating for Penta. And then tonight when he just took the mic, you did a lot of justice there. I thought it was very funny. When he went after Trent's mom, which the announcers were just like, no, that's a no. They love Sue on that announce team. I really like that. So when he went after his mom, they weren't very happy with that. But I thought this was good. I thought Trent looked good. He did look a little rusty in spots, and then he was getting caught up on the ropes. And then there was some spot where he landed right on his head. That was kind of scary. But I think it's just because, his first match back is wrestling a guy like Penta going 1,000 miles per hour. And eventually they caught up to each other's speed. And they really have good chemistry together. But I thought this was very good toward the end.
Yeah. Again, that's the right finish. Again, a critique I constantly have with AEW, and I have it again later in the night. Just the ref spots they do, or lack thereof, to get the shenanigans in. It's just, it gets to a point. I would almost rather. It's no secret. It's kind of become part of like Tony Khan's charm as like the wrestling encyclopedia that he is, who happens to have $1 billion that can fund a company. We all know that he loved ECW, and we know things that influence him as a fan. Just come out and say that you're paying homage to ECW, and just like how ECW was, there was no such thing as a disqualification. If that's what you want to come out and say, just say it. It's not it's not like the AEW rankings are like hockey, where it's like you're 4-3 and 1, and that one is a victory or a loss because of a DQ or something like over. Like just come out and say we don't have DQs. And the ref's there to count 3 or verify if somebody tapped out. Just come out and do it already.
Yeah, it would do them a lot of favors, because even somebody as closely as we follow it, I watch every week, and sometimes I kind of ask myself whether or not there are certain rules. Like the count out tonight, there were moments where I was like, do they do count outs in the AEW? And they definitely were doing it in the main event, but then there were moments throughout the show where they just let them wrestle on the outside forever, and you thought whether or not they used them. So, I definitely think that some kind of declaration saying what they believe and what they don't believe. And, listen, if they believe that they don't have to have a disqualification so that they can get 3 counts and they can give fans finishes, they can present it that way. They can present it that we want every match to have a finish or whatnot, but it really would be important to distinguish when the rules apply and when they don't.
Right, and yeah, right. I'd appreciate them just coming out and saying, "Look, we don't want to give you non-finishes. We want to make sure there's a finish, even if it means that shenanigans have to happen." Because here's the thing: now they are Dynamites have been around for a year and a half at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, I don't think they have here. Now, if they ever do finally do like some big DQ and that's their resolution, I don't see how there's going to be any justification. I don't see like what act could. I mean, we've seen Matt Hardy almost die. I mean, like I don't see like what there could be where they stop a match. You know, like
I believe they did do one in a Cody match. I think it was something with QT Marshall, but maybe like last month. And I remember hearing that might have been the first DQ, but even that did not justify a disqualification in terms of what they've let go.
Yeah, like they have they're really big about, and even I think Excalibur noted it. The women's title match that's coming up here in a few. They noted that the title match had like a 60-minute time limit, but then like the TNT title match, TV time remaining. I mean, like one of these times they're going to use something like that where the time, and that's fine. One-offs on something that's easy to define, a time limit, but something that is as blurred lines as calling for a disqualification in a fake in a predetermined wrestling match is a really hard thing to go into. All right, so we get one of the things they're promoting for tonight, Alfred. It is the sit-down. Jim Ross does a sit-down with the Pinnacle, and MJF does the bulk of the talking here. He talks about how Jericho made fun of his Burberry scarf, and he's like, look, I've been wearing a scarf way before you, Jericho. I wore it back when I was on Rosie O'Donnell when I was 10 years old. And Tully's at home getting the battle plan ready for the big blood and guts, but MJF says Tully sent him a silk scarf because it's spring season, so it's time for silk. Wardlow gets a few words in. He says, Jericho was going through naming everybody in the Pinnacle and knocking them down verbally on that big touted about promo. But Wardlow noted, Jericho, when he got to Wardlow, you stuttered and stammered because you knew you were starting to do something you shouldn't do. So that was interesting. Wardlow getting to have some talk, and then goes back to MJF. He says, the Jericho rub, all that is now is just wrestling wrestling guys that the fans already want to see, and then Jericho just takes all the success that it supposedly gets. And MJF reminds him that he's undefeated, and he put over Blood and Guts on May 5th, how he is a mark. He's a mark for Jericho's spot, and he is going to come and hurt Jericho.
Love that.
What'd you think of this?
I thought it was phenomenal. I thought this was MJF's best promo of this entire feud. I thought it was so good what I like about this feud, and that's made me invested week to week to week, and even kind of make it seem like these two groups legitimately don't like each other, is that whenever they have a promo designed to go back at the other person, they point out a legitimate flaw in the promo. Like when MJF cut his promo, he had this horrible spray tan that was not part of the character or anything. He just looked orange. Jericho made fun of that. But now this week, Wardlow made fun of Jericho legitimately slipping up from his promo last time. So it seems like that's how arguments tend to work when two people go back and forth. Whenever you've seen a Twitter feud or whatnot, they'll go after each other's typos or whatnot. And that's how you know they really don't like each other. And I like that element of this. And I just also loved Wardlow. He was just very short but sweet. And it was a very good bar for him to say that, like, you're just scared of me. That's why he slipped up. It was really clever writing, I thought, for this promo. And it really got me excited. I thought MJF put a button on it perfectly. And I really liked it. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I thought most of what was said was good. And I agree with you about the Wardlow part. And I like the fact that, you got 5 of these guys sitting there. MJF, of course, is going to take the bulk of the lines. But the fact that Wardlow got to be the other one who spoke, there's a slow burn of plans for him in the long term. Yeah. I will say this: I don't quite understand why this had to be done in the pre-tape sit-down fashion. This group still is new, relatively speaking. So I don't know why you wouldn't. I still think it'd be more effective to have it out live where you can hear audible heat and reactions. So the fact that it was done in this manner, I guess because we see Inner Circle later, maybe it's that we got to keep it up as they're not in the same building until next week, which we'll talk about. I don't know. That was my only thing after I watched. I was like, maybe that should have been live, but then we see Inner Circle later, so maybe it's I don't know. I was just curious: is this the strongest way to present the Pinnacle for the good things they had to say? Are they stronger in a pre-tape, or are they stronger when you can have that live, live reaction?
I completely get that. If I were to choose after having seen the Inner Circles promo, which we'll get into, and I thought they were fine. If I were to choose which one should have been live, I would have chosen the Pinnacle for sure. I mean, Inner Circle could have cut that promo backstage, I feel like, but I just thought the Pinnacle was that good, and that I would have rather seen them live, especially because they're so new.
Yeah, right. And not to jump the gun here, but yeah, when we get to the Inner Circle, if you want to compare the two, definitely I felt that Pinnacle had the stronger of the two group promos. Speaking of strong, we have a brand new sponsor to the show that we'd love to introduce and thank, and it's Strong VPN. What is that? Well, tell you what. Strong VPN. It's a virtual private network, VPN. VPNs help you, if you're not aware already, they help you safely browse the internet. It's a crazy world out there, but we all got to have the internet. That's just the nature of the game. We're all connected at all times. And whether you're watching a Twitch stream or a YouTube stream or gaming somewhere else or just spending way too much time on social media procrastinating, with Strong VPN, your connection is encrypted. That's important because it means no one else can spy on what you're doing. Whatever you're playing, whoever you're talking to, whether you're having some freaky fun or whether you're doing some important banking, nobody can be spying on what you're doing. VPN is very important. And so you can use Strong VPN on your computers, tablets, phones. You can even install it on your router to protect every single device that's in your household on your internet network. So the best news about this, they are hooking you up with a deal. Strong VPN uses the latest generation VPN technology called WireGuard, which means it doesn't slow you down like other VPNs are known to do. So check out this deal that they're doing now that they are linked up here with the Wrestling Inc. podcast. For listeners and viewers of the show, Strong VPN is offering an incredible 65% off. 65. You see it there on the screen if you're watching. 65% off. So that's just $3.50 for the first month, or for a whole year, Alfred. Your numbers guy, $27.99. I mean, great. For a whole year, this is an incredible offer. And so everything you get with a Strong VPN, you get the apps for iOS or Android or Mac or Windows. You get access to 950 plus VPN servers, none of which will log your information. You also get more than 59,000 anonymous IP addresses protecting your personal privacy. So how do you get that savings? Go to the address there. It's on the screen if you're watching. Go to strongvpn.com/INC. INC is your discount code. strongvpn.com/INC. The plan starting at just $350 a month or $27.99 a year. Get started. This offer is only a limited time. It's not going to be around forever. Limited time offer right now. 65% off monthly and annual subscriptions from strongvpn.com/INC. Once again, that's strongvpn.com. We thank them very much for getting in to the Strong Wrestling Inc. podcast on a Wednesday night.
Shout out to them. That's actually a great deal. And you can never be too secure. So if you can save that much money doing it, hell yeah.
When they told us about this and I was reading the script, I was like, I had to check. I was like, is this a typo? Are we sure? Yeah. It's a great deal. It's a great deal. So happy to have Strong VPN working with us. And again, INC is the discount code. All right, I see some super chats coming in here for Taya Conte. Let's get into that. So again, top rank Taya Conte up against Hikaru Shida. Of course, she is the AEW Women's Women's Champion. She's held that title for I think 333 days at this point. This is her 8th title defense, but she's won 25 straight. She hasn't lost since 2019, so kind of quiet in some regards in the manner in which she has had this title reign. But commentary again, trying to give you the stats. They actually give this match a little pre-match fight package, so helping juice it up. This starts out quickly, pretty much, Albert, in a slugfest, which not many expected. We see Shida give a brainbuster on the outside. After that, we get a lot of submissions and some heat. Shida is the one who's putting on these submissions and just doing the heat spots. So even though both ladies coming from the proverbial babyface tunnels, Shida kind of acting more as the heel in this match. And Conte gets a comeback. Then we start to see a series of just pretty incredible, innovative offensive spots. Conte hits a sentai with Shida balanced on the top rope. Shida hits a witch's shot when also balanced on the top, which sends Conte out to the floor. Looked pretty brutal. Ultimately, Shida does kick out of the tie KO, and then Shida wins with her finish. I forget the name of it, but it's like a spinning knee to the face. So Shida wins to defend, and then Britt Baker out after the fact on the stage. Again, noting the screen, noting the rankings, noting the record. So again, a big theme of tonight. But Alfred, Shida, still the champion, still on the babyface side of the fence, still dressing in the babyface locker room, if you will. But this certainly feels like they are getting her positioned and ready to inevitably drop this title to Britt Baker.
Yeah, and I think she had to kind of play the heel because she's a champion against another babyface, so the babyface is naturally going to get more sympathy from the audience. And I thought Taya Conte should have won this match, to be honest. I know that they are doing a slow build, but this just seemed like it could have been her moment. I get her not winning. I didn't fully expect it to happen, but I just thought that, these two worked very well together. Taya Conte's been on a run, and I did feel going into this either should be Taya Conte's best match just on the run that she's on, or she should win the title to just kind of keep that momentum. And I thought she had her best match to date on AEW. AEW in this match. Like you saying innovative spots, innovative was the exact words in my notes that I used to describe this match, in that these two seem like they really like working together because they did a lot of stuff where they were flipping around on the top turnbuckle, and I really enjoyed it. I just thought, Taya Conte's been very much improved. Hikaru Shida, it's hard for me to get excited for her matches going in. I never really see that fire going in, but when the bell rings and she gets in that match, she has a way of hooking you in, and she's very good in there. But I liked everything about this, even the post match.
Yeah, and I agree. I kind of agree with the Shida thing. I feel bad saying it because I admittedly I don't follow Japanese stars in wrestling nearly as much. So a lot of these stars that AEW has utilized from Japan, a lot of it is new. I know the big level storyline of the Elite and the Bullet Club, but so I feel bad when I say I don't really get psyched when I see her coming to the ring. But you're right. Once the bell gets going and it gets in the motions, I'm like, all right, I start to get into it. But I will say, I thought that I actually would have agreed if Taya Conte would have won, because here's the thing. Taya Conte at least is, I feel like she is the more over baby face between her and Shida. I do.
Yeah.
I just feel like maybe it's because she's kind of got the Dark Order hanging around her, and then they're over, they become over baby faces. She's so much improved. And again, I just feel like there's not that there with Shida. And I feel like Taya Conte as a champion, although it'd pretty much be pretty transitional, I feel like that's a baby face that's better for Britt to eventually beat. Because here's the thing. Britt's inevitably going to become AEW Women's Champion, and long overdue. I don't think they should, and I don't think that Britt would want this. I think they need to do every damn thing possible to keep Britt as a heel. Mm-hmm. I know as funny and as talented as Britt has just emerged in the heel role, that's very traditional that ends up then kind of not backfiring, but just spinning into being a very cool, likable babyface. I think Britt's going to have to make sure that when she goes to win, that she still is just a bitch and is just very as unlikable as possible, because I think they have to keep her a heel for as long as possible, and eventually when you've burned all the heel heat off, do the babyface switch again. But I would not rush her back to the babyface side of things, because what's made Dr. Britt Baker has been the heel emphasis in her.
Completely agreed. And I would like to see her win that title through nefarious means. Like, she should not beat Hikaru Shida clean, especially under the idea that Hikaru Shida has been so dominant and had that title for so long, doing it the right way. For her to lose it through heel tactics, whether she gets Reba involved, I would absolutely like to see that. I think that'd be very welcome, because it's only a matter of time, and it might happen already. Who knows, when these live crowds come back, they might have already fallen in love with Britt Baker over the pandemic. But she's much better in this role where she gets to play the heel and the bad guy. There's just more for her to do, and it would be way too early to turn her babyface just because of the reactions.
Yeah, and to your point, they have limited crowd, very limited, so you can still, you can still control the narrative. WWE has the same kind of benefit. You can control the narrative because you can control mostly what's being heard and done live, in your live events. So yeah, while you have that, I mean, keep her as dastardly of a heel as possible, because while she can be funny, and while we get deep in the weeds of appreciating that, on the surface she's still somebody who's just a rotten, nasty woman with the way she speaks and things she does. James Bean, even though Taya lost tonight, should Britt have to face her for the number one spot, because Taya is 10-3 and Britt is 8-1? Yeah, I maybe.
I wouldn't have a problem with that. Yeah, as long as, because they've already established that Britt's number one, so maybe to hold on to that. Britt's been making such a big deal about these rankings that it would make sense to use the rankings to make another match with somebody who's a top contender. I would have no problem with it.
No, for sure. All right, so then we get a Miro promo, short but sweet, a pre-tape promo. Maybe the best, whatever it was, 60 seconds that Miro has looked. And I'm not exaggerating. The best 60 seconds he's looked since arriving to AEW. Very well done package, edited, great sound bites, great visuals. And he's basically saying, I'm coming after a champion. Like, I don't care. I don't care if it's, Kenny Omega. I don't care if it's Darby Allin and your emo face paint father. If you have a title in AEW, you have a problem, because Miro's coming. Goosebumps, loved it.
Excellent. And I love that it put the TNT title on kind of the same level as the AEW World title. When I don't know which one of these titles I'm going to come after next. If you heard something like that on any other roster, it'd be like, oh, come on, you want that world. But, Miro's going to go after one of those titles, and it's going to mean something. And I just hope that he continues to get ring work, and while he's looking for Kip Sabian, he continues to squash guys, because that'll make it even sweeter when he finally does get his hands on Kip Sabian. I like that storyline arc that he still hasn't found Kip Sabian. Sabian's disappeared off the planet running from him. So I like that they're telling that story too.
Yeah, I give credit to AEW for trying with the TNT title. They've I know Cody has said this several times in public situations where they didn't want the TNT title to automatically default to being like the mid card. They wanted to feel like that's of equal level of the world title. And I feel like for the most part, they've tried to hold true to that by having the TNT title main event, episodes. And so like, I think anytime you have anytime you have a title in your organization, it's called a world title. We're all just kind of trained that that's the number one, but I think they're at least attempting to, keep it as valuable and as prestigious. And so, power to it. Good to try. All right. So we see the Inner Circle live. Jericho and crew are out there to kind of respond. They put over Blood and Guts. Jericho says to MJF, you don't have conviction. I don't believe you. You sound like you're reading off a script. He has a quick little show tune. He sings about MJF. And then Jericho says next week, both groups will be face to face for parlay where they will discuss the battle, the rules, the strategy, what's going to happen. So this will be, it sounds like the big go home to their Blood and Guts, which Alfred, I don't know if you caught this earlier on in the night when they said Blood and Guts. Did I hear Jim Ross say is the entire Blood and Guts May 5th Dynamite? Is it all just this?
That's what I got out of this. I mean, when you threw to me, I was going to ask you what you thought about that in terms of it's going to be just one match, Blood and Guts, from what I understand too.
Yeah, that's what I took it as. Then I was like, all right, is this live for 2 hours? Are they doing a cinematic pre-tape for this? So this is kind of interesting of one match.
2 hours.
2 hours. I mean, granted, there are enough players involved. There's enough people involved to where you could kind of like MJF and Jericho disappear, and then for the next 15 minutes, we just see these I guess, but especially if it's live, that could be a very interesting thing to pull off of moving pieces. Especially if they're moving around Daly's place, if they go back into the Jaguar Stadium, which that's great they had that at their disposal. But this sounds like they really are building to like a one night war of just for 2 hours of a match.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting to see how they play this as a television event. If they're going to take any time, like maybe 15 minutes before, to promote it and talk about it and do video packages, or if they're just going to kind of go straight into this thing. Because they can kind of drag this out, but it's a tall task if you want to go past the 90-minute mark with a match like that. I think it might be a tall task, but they have the liberty to do that now that they're not going head-to-head with NXT. I don't think this is something they would have ever tried if they had another show to worry about.
No, I agree. This will certainly prove who really are the demo gods out of this bunch if they can hold the audience for that. Val, $4.99 super chat, not AEW related, but well wishes to EC3, who's been hospitalized with an infection. Yeah, I don't know the news. I saw on my social timeline some people saying best wishes to EC3. I don't know the details. I guess if that's true, Val, then thanks for letting us know. And best.
I'll have to check that out.
Best DC3. It doesn't sound good at all. So this Jericho Inner Circle promo, I felt, like I said, I thought maybe the Pinnacle should be live, whatever, but I felt as a response to the Pinnacle, this was not one of the better Jericho showings here.
No. I mean, he had for somebody who on that show was called out for messing up his lines, he did have a little bit of a faux pas when he was trying to do the show tunes thing. The crowd didn't really even seem to be like they were excited to hear show tunes because he had to ask them a couple times to get them excited about it. I didn't think this was bad. It's just following that Pinnacle promo. They clearly, if we're going to be judging it on that scale, we're outclassed by the Pinnacle tonight.
Well, and also if you want to put on the scale of following up the Immortal promo that Jericho had cut.
Oh yeah.
So that obviously set up, that people were talking about that as the best promo he had cut in years, Yeah. So that's
I did like Santana in this one though. They let him talk for a little bit, and I thought he's a very convincing tough guy.
And then what did Hager jump in and scream? You'll be like sucking at your own meat through a straw.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Jericho's even like, okay, Jake.
Yeah, come down, Haas.
Oh, yeah, we don't got to write promos for these guys. We don't have to have writers. We can just let them go. All right, up next we get QT Marshall versus Billy Gunn. He set the gun back.
Yeah. Was it a transaction? Is it his now, or is he defying WWE?
I don't know. He'd been Billy for the longest time. The graphic had just said Billy. The commentators would just say Billy. Tonight they said Billy Gunn. The graphic said Billy Gunn. Obviously, his boys are the Gunn Club. So I'm not sure what where the trademarks or whatever follow here, but he's Billy Gunn again. So good for that. This one starts out, Guns out first, and then here comes QT Marshall, who tries to throw Nick Camarado and Aaron Solo to Billy Gunn, and Billy quickly just knocks them down. And then a large part of this match is Billy Gunn just putting on a whipping on QT Marshall, just throwing him around, punching him. Eventually, Camarado and Solo, they look like they're about to get involved. They do get involved. Again, there's a weird transition of a distraction. They start to get involved, and then Billy's sons, they both jump over the barricades, and now they're all fighting off and go for a minute. Eventually, we end up seeing Billy Gunn, who looks like him. He's, again, just in full control. The man's in his mid-50s, and he just it's just so freakishly impressive looking. And still the way he moves, and just little things, the way he times false finish kickouts.
Yeah.
Little things he does of selling, just how hard it is just to extend his arm to grab to that rope for a second. He just you can't say enough about the veteran experience that he brings. And he's showing it off here. Looks like he might actually get this win here. And then all of a sudden, we see a Go-Go come out, who, of course, is selling his British gut punch. And he gives that gut punch to Gunn. That leads to QT hitting the diamond cutter. So QT Marshall gets the win. And then after the fact, Alfred, looks like we're going to gang up on Billy. And then we got Dustin Rhodes comes out to save. Dustin Rhodes is putting on a whooping. And then he ends up hitting Nick Camarado with a wooden chair, which Camarado doesn't even flinch.
Yeah.
Where do you make of all this? Are you into this QT Marshall and his deal here, his stable, his gym?
I am. I like that they're getting attention. I mean, they hit Camarado right in the head, and he just kind of sit there and took it. I felt like everybody got over in terms of the factory, in terms of being presented on TV, except Aaron Solo was just kind of thrown to the wolves and didn't really get to do anything. I like Anthony Ogogo. They're continuing to put over that punch, and I think QT Marshall's been good in this role. It's just that one of those things that they kind of try to cram down your throat in one segment. It seemed very rushed. It seemed like a lot was happening for all the stories you're trying to tell, and at the end of the day, they did end up getting to where it looks like it's going to be Dustin Rhodes versus QT in a bull rope match or something like that, which, I'm fine. I'm sure that's going to be a match that'll be a fun thing to watch, but it just seemed like they were trying to do too much with too little time in here.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, too, to see Dustin out there who looks and moves well for his age, Billy, who we just said. And it's like somebody had tweeted on my timeline a clip from them having a match, Goldust versus Billy Gunn, like Raw of 1999 in the Attitude Era. God. It's like, wow, here we are, 22 years later. This made Camarado look good, the way that he no-sold this wooden chair, which I don't know where they got this wooden chair from. And then Dustin kind of looked like a little bit impressed and scared. So that was all kind of cool. So are we going to Dustin QT? Are we going to Dustin Camarado? But there was a lot of moving parts. The Gun Boys jumped in to try to fend off Camarado and Solo, and then the Gun Boys disappeared. There was a lot of moving parts. I guess that is one thing, again, in the stables of AEW. There is just sometimes segments that otherwise could have done what they did maybe over the course of 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But
I feel like a lot of cool things happened, but you just forgot about them when the other cool thing happened.
Right. Right. And I have so much of the stuff written down, and as I go through it, and this is only an hour and a half removed from some of this stuff. I'm doing that. I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. I wrote it down, but you forget, because they're trying to get so much else in. All right. So we saw earlier, we didn't mention it, but this happened earlier. We see Omega and the Bucks and Callis and the Good Brothers. They're all on this private bus, private trailer, if you will. And, they're cutting promos talking about how, they are the origin, they are the reason why business went up in Japan. The Bullet Club shirt that sold so hot in the US. They talk about they are the origin. They are the origin for the elite revolution that is All Elite Wrestling. It's not all Moxley Kingston wrestling. So they're really putting themselves over. And then as Omega tries to get serious for a second and cut a promo right at the camera, they just continue to hear this horn honking until we see that it's Moxley and Kingston out in a big old pickup truck, and they just proceed to go and T-bone this trailer. But this is a little bit odd. So like they go and just T-bone this trailer, and then they just get out of the car and they immediately, like with bats and weapons, walk around this trailer. They go in it, and all of a sudden, in that very brief of a time, everybody that was in the trailer all of a sudden has escaped. This came off weird.
Yeah, you didn't see them escape. You didn't see where they would have gotten out. It's just they're just gone, and you're expecting something to happen. Maybe they get jumped from behind. Maybe there's some type of confrontation. That's what this was building toward. But for these two guys, just kind of, I mean, Moxley and Kingston are very entertaining together, and I think they play off of one each other. But it's just weird that they were just kind of rambling and nothing happened, and then we go to the next segment. It was very weird that it ended like this.
Even if when they cut from the trailer and they cut to seeing Moxley and Kingston in the truck, they would have needed to at least cut back one more time to just show Callis and company doing a fire drill to evacuate out of this trailer. And you're like, oh my God, are they going to get out in time before the truck hits them? That would have at least, just told me, okay, they got out and they're running for their lives. I literally watched Moxley and Kingston go in and nothing happened, and they threw a few things and nobody's there. I was like, did they hit the wrong trailer? Like, is there like another trailer? And it was just, and which sucks because Moxley and Kingston came off pretty badass. The way their demeanor, they came off pretty legit feeling. But then I just totally got lost of we really did not explain that these guys escaped really well. We're just saying that they're gone, but where did they go? How did they get off so fast in a matter of 20 seconds?
Yeah, I was left asking, are these guys sure that the Young Bucks and Omega and them aren't in that trailer? I don't think they even went inside the trailer to actually go look. I think they poked their heads in and then they kept beating it up. And I was kind of asking, why don't they just go in there and actually look? And it needs to be communicated to the viewer that they're definitely not in there. And they did not do that. So I was kind of left wanting more. And then when it ended, it just seemed like it was a mistake almost.
Right, exactly. That's the perfect way to put it. When it ended, it felt like it was a mistake. That was probably the way they wanted it to go, but it was just a missing piece. And I think Moxley did walk. He walked on the trailer enough to where we didn't see him. Then he said, "Oh, did you take your socks with you?" And he threw maybe a dresser or something. But it was just, I don't know. Yeah, it was confusing. Or at least after you see them going through this vacant trailer, again, cut to a shot showing me all those guys hopping in a car 500 yards down the parking lot and speeding, something, just so I know they got away. They literally pulled an Undertaker. They just vanished in thin air.
Yeah.
Okay. Bid Moon, $1.99. Eddie Kingston, Fierce Sparklers. All right. All right. So we go to Christian Cage up against.
Soon, by the way.
It is too soon. Christian Cage up against Powerhouse Hobbs. Once again, Taz on commentary. Hobbs in a lot of control for a big part of the first part of the match. Eventually, Christian, though, he would start to get a comeback. Hits a frog splash. This is a false finish. Hobbs kicks out. Hobbs then regains control. Hobbs looks like he might be getting ready to hit a finish. Even in the finish, is mocking Christian. He's doing the whole peeps thing like this. And in that mocking, you don't got to mock. You're wasting valuable time, as the commentators would always tell you. That valuable time allows Christian to shimmy off his shoulders, reverse Hobbs, and hit the kill switch for the win. So Christian Cage getting another win here, which the right thing to do. I mean, I suppose he could lose, and again, it's not going to harm him. He's Christian, but again, Team Taz can't steal a win.
Yeah, and it kind of hurts Taz's credibility that he always has to be on commentary for these matches. I mean, if the plan was for them to lose, he doesn't have to keep coming back and making him look like just kind of a blowhard that he's talking and doing all this great promotion of his guys only for them to lose. And this was another match with weird officiating where Aubrey Edwards was counting down, Will Hobbs when he had a Christian up against the cage. So she was counting him down for 5 seconds and he let go. So clearly at least 4 seconds had gone by and they spent another, 20 seconds outside. So I thought that was very weird. And this is fun. I'm glad they have Will Hobbs in this spot, and they did tease Ricky Starks against Christian next, which I think on paper should be very good. But this is a little underwhelming. I will say this match is not as good as I thought it could have been.
Yeah, agreed. But again, I just go to Team Taz. You got this. I don't want to say a fake title, but it's the FTW title. It's like the $1 Million Man's title. It's a prop title, and just nobody looks good. Nobody's. Brian Cage, they kind of tease like Brian Cage, he's for a few weeks ago they teased that he was defecting from them. Now he kind of seemed like he's back on the same page of them. You got Hook, who's out there, who's young, like I said, light on the kicks there. Cage and Starks and Hobbs, they all look good in their own way, but there's nobody can win. I mean, again, I know they win on Dark and Elevation, but I'm focused on Dynamite because maybe one of the most underlining critiques of AEW is they assume that their viewer is watching everything and is following every social media account and is watching every sub-series on YouTube, and that's just not the case. I know it frustrates people I know it frustrates WWE viewers that are jaded, but WWE always books to the lowest common denominator. They always book to the most casual fan. That's why they show you the recap package 4 times in a night. It gets nauseating, but they bank on somebody new tuning in for this quarter hour. And like AEW doesn't need to go that far to it, but I think that you got to find the happy medium. They got to figure out a way to educate people that like Team Taz matters. Maybe to show a montage of how bad they destroyed people on Dark and Elevation the previous couple days, if that's what it takes. But right now, I watch Dynamite and I'm just like, Team Taz looks like a bunch of chumps.
They do, and a lot of it is because it gets so much TV time, and they get to put that group over. And for the group to continually lose, it only exacerbates that these guys are just a bunch of guys who they talk a big game, but they continue to lose. And I don't think at all that should be their gimmick. These guys have a lot of street cred ingrained in them. From Taz to Brian Cage just looking like such a badass. There's a lot they can do with this group. Hobbs looks like a monster. So yeah, they really should be a group that's protected in terms of a top heel stable, because even though they do have a lot of stables, they even do have a good top heel stable, a couple of them. I think this is one of those that differentiates itself in that tough guy mold, that they should be winning their matches because fighting adds to their credibility.
For sure. All right, into the main event we go. And again, numbers and records, they matter. This is the theme here. We got Darby Allin defending his TNT title up against Jungle Boy. Jim Ross pulling out some stats, noting Jungle Boy has a best overall winning percentage, that he has 42 wins in his AEW career, and he compares that to, I think, Kenny Omega, who is 45. So, yeah. Granted, Jungle Boy not beating necessarily the same level of competitors that Kenny Omega has, but still 42 wins. So, making case of why Jungle Boy's in this spot. This is an interesting main event here, Alfred. You got two guys who, they don't eclipse 5'6". Even commentary notes this, that these aren't two guys that are ever going to be the biggest in the room, but are going to make up for it in their intensity. But I thought that was good. I thought the visual that was good. They put the smallest ref in there as well in Bryce Remsburg, so the ref doesn't overshadow the size. And these two guys, I think they brought it. They really tried to make the most of this main event. Jungle Boy just so damn talented. Jungle Boy at one point has a sequence of doing 3 dives in a row to the outside. The first goes through the middle and bottom rope. The second goes through the middle and top rope, and then he finally goes over the top. Nice sequence there. We see Darby do the coffin drop on the Jungle Boy on the apron. Eventually, we see even Sting and Luchasaurus. They kind of come to faces and words, and then they start to kind of like hockey fight their way.
Yeah, I hated that. That was my least favorite part of the match. I was so deflated when I saw that, because I was excited when they came face to face. But oh my God, what was that?
I mean, they threw a few punches, and then they literally they kind of like collar and elbow tie it up and just did like a do-si-do dance into the tunnel. Like
really made Luchasaurus look pretty bad in that. Like, he's just this monster who's tussling like that with Sting. I didn't like it.
Yeah, and then back to the action. Darby ends up he locks in the Last Supper to beat Jungle Boy. A little bit of a anticlimactic finish, considering some of the other things we saw, that it was just this locked up roll up. But I guess maybe it protects Jungle Boy is the argument here. But so Darby wins. After the fact, the real business that they're getting over here is Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. They come to attack. They're starting to beat down Darby and what have you. And then Lance Archer, he comes out to try to help even odds. And then Sting comes out with the bat. And ultimately, this runs off Scorpio and Ethan Page. So, the main event here, Darby gets another victory, retains the title. Jungle Boy gets a main event spot. But the ultimate goal here was they wanted to put over at Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. They're a duo, as we've seen. And they're not happy. They're coming for blood here. So, was this a satisfying ending for you?
Yeah, and you spoke to the finisher. That's something Darby Allin's been trying to get over for a while, but I just don't like a roll-up finisher in that, I think people really expect the Jungle Boy to kick out of that, because that match was really kind of trending toward a hot finish. But I like this. It was very strategic, I think, when they placed Jungle Boy versus Darby Allin in the main event, because last week, one of the biggest gains that AEW had in terms of improving from the Wednesday Night War era is with women. Women audiences skyrocketed with AEW last week with Darby Allin in the main event. So I think they just saw that and they thought, let's take another heartthrob, Darby and Jungle Boy, two people who not only would appeal to women, but a lot of people who enjoy AEW. These are two of their pillars and building blocks. So it's something that we could see for a world title in a couple years. And so it's really cool to see something like that now. So I'll be interested to see the impact this had with women viewership. But I thought the match was good. I thought it was exactly what it had to be. And it could have gone either way. I could have seen Jungle Boy pulling the upset and catching Darby Allin on a bad day. But I like that Darby Allin won. I think they're doing a good job with him.
Yeah, I agree. Jungle Boy, he's one of those guys. Again, he obviously never going to have the biggest size, but he kind of has. You definitely feel like he's going to have that. Maybe he's not going to have the career of a Rey Mysterio, but he's going to have that theme that they're going to try to continually push, that he is the biggest little man.
Yeah, that
is there. So, yeah, I mean, overall, not a bad Dynamite. Again, very much themed toward logic of records and rankings. Some things that are confusing, as we noted. How do they escape the trailer so fast? But overall, I think this will be, probably, but just about as equal to the viewers. Well, actually, I don't know. Last week's viewership, they had Mike Tyson to bank on. So maybe this one goes down a little bit.
I'd be surprised if it went up. I mean, like, very pleasantly surprised, but I would be shocked if it went up just because it's such a high bar to go up. I mean, I was surprised that NXT went up the way it did. But you could build an audience from 800,000 to 1 million or whatnot. If they continue to go up after 1.2 million, they're on to something.
Yeah, I'm going to say this one for AEW drops below 1 million. Maybe not much. I'm going to say it drops below 1 million. But if they can do some good business next week and if the promotion can work, I think that May 5th show again, that May 5th Blood and Guts show, they're unopposed, and just the time they've taken to build the players that are involved in this inner circle pinnacle battle could potentially do their biggest number ever. So we'll see. We'll tune in next week and we'll see if that prediction still holds up. All right, we got 3 news headlines real quick, Alfred. We'll jump into one. Partially an exclusive. Raj Giri, Wrestling Inc.'s president, sat down to talk to MLW's president Court Bauer, and Court gives some more quotes. You can read a lot of these quotes on Wrestling Inc. talking about the fact that MLW has a TV deal, Alfred, and starting in May, they are going to be on Vice TV. And Court kind of goes into some of the history of that, how long it's been taking to get to that, what brought it about, what he's expecting from it. So really good quotes to go check out on WrestlingInc.com. But what do you think? MLW on Vice TV, that's a big deal.
I absolutely love it. I mean, I'm biased because I'm very friendly with Court, and I've just seen how hard he's worked to pretty much take this thing from zero. It was just a podcast network that he's now cultivated into a pro wrestling promotion, and now he's on a very, very big network in terms of, a network that is very cutting edge, that's slowly but surely becoming a wrestling network. They have ties to Dark Side of the Ring, which was their highest drawing show ever. They've had some great wrestling documentaries on there, and it's just good that Vice TV is now starting to get into the wrestling business. They're going to have live shows, and this is great news for the health of the entire business. I mean, I know there's people who think that there should only be one show in town or whatnot, but the more you see deals like this from channels like Vice TV, which are up and coming and that get behind wrestling and does well, then more wrestling is going to be on more mainstream networks. And that's, eventually going to be the path to wrestling having another boom period.
I agree. And that's great what you said. The fact that it's Vice. Because, it's one thing when and I kind of have this knock at times of Impact over the years. Impact's been on channels that are either foreign to wrestling fans or aren't in as many homes as you'd like. Vice has become this kind of the underground wrestling channel, like you said, Dark Side of the Ring and some other documentaries. So, and Vice seems to be pretty readily available, depending on who, no matter who your provider is. So that's a great position for them to be in. And yeah, you have obviously AEW, who's doing great on the Turner. Obviously WWE, they're not going anywhere. You have Ring of Honor, who's got who their TV, and I think they're starting to get their things back in a row, getting ready for hopefully the getting out of this pandemic. What they're going to try to do, MLW doing this. I mean, it really is nuts that even on the most mainstream at WWE, that fewer people are watching the live weekly program, at least via cable ratings. But now we know with streaming and with YouTube and everything else, there's different ways to consume these products. It's kind of crazy that 22 years after the Attitude Era, we're seeing more pro wrestling, more quality pro wrestling than ever beyond major mainstream distribution channels.
Absolutely. If you look at wrestling in its healthiest period, its last boom period, 3 different promotions had major TV deals with ECW, WCW, and WWE, all with TV deals with very viable networks. And we're seeing that with WWE, AEW, and now MLW now. I just think that they're like the little engine that could. And I think Vice is such a perfect network for exactly what MLW does, because they are kind of a hybrid wrestling promotion that really kind of promotes itself as almost like a UFC, where they call their matches fights, and they're really kind of worried about the shoot element of it. And they've done a good job kind of making it seem like wrestling for people who kind of maybe take it a little more serious, don't want the cartoon stuff, but it's still a pro wrestling element to it that I really like.
Sure. Jax Callens, $4.99. Yo, boys, got a jet, but you two make a great duo for the pod. Great stuff. Much love.
Thanks, Jax.
Thank you, Jax. Yeah, Alfred and I have done this a time or two. Kayla Mick, I don't know if she meant to put something there. $2. Kayla, if that was a typo and you hit enter too fast before getting to write something. Oh, I think here it is. Maybe I didn't want you to have to pay again. Any news on AEW adding another AEW show on TNT? I know there's been talks. Be great seeing more talent news. Yeah, the word is before the calendar year is done that they will have another show on TNT.
Yes.
We don't know the day. We don't know the day of the week. We don't know. I think they've hinted that they want the format to be different than Dynamite. They do not want it to be just this is just a second Dynamite of the week. They want it to be some kind of different format. We don't know what that means, but certainly AEW's shown that they kind of are willing to think outside the box. So
right,
that'll be something to watch for. So glad Kayla got your comment in there. All right, next piece of news here. Charlotte Flair. It's being reported by make sure I get this right here. Being reported by Alex McCarthy on the Wrestling Daily podcast that her storyline suspension, is just that. It's just a storyline angle. And that's because to let her get off TV for a few weeks because she has some dental work sorted out. This has nothing to do with Alex and discrediting him, because I know of Alex and he's got a pretty good track record.
Shout out to Wrestle Talk.
Yeah, so I totally believe that whatever source or whatever means that he's getting this information from that he deems credible, but I believe that he's hearing that this is a weird story, Alfred.
Yeah, there's a lot of black helicopters floating around, all things Charlotte Flair. There's just, and I don't want to promote any conspiracy. I have no reason not to believe this. It's just that one story after another that's just really, from her missing WrestleMania to the weird interviews and conjecture from Hugo Savinovich, and I just don't. Right,
well, and her fiance, very unhappily and very publicly leaving.
That's at the center of it.
Yeah, it's just she needs some time off for some dental stuff, but she just was off for the question mark period leading to Mania. I don't know this again. We're sourcing. I'm citing who we're sourcing on Wrestling Inc. Their report, and this has nothing to do with that. This is just I fully believe Alex and them are hearing this from sources that they believe in, but I'm just wondering who's telling those sources that
right
internally just to keep the waters calm, to not make this that just seems the timing of everything this seems very bizarre.
It really does. Why? She just had her big return match this week. It only leads me to believe that this had to have been an emergency, but I guess we're going to find out more information. I hope we do, because this is starting to get weird.
This is really weird. And finally, sticking with women and WWE, and where are they? When are they? How are they? Do they want to be they? Ronda Rousey, first off, congratulations to her and her husband, Travis Brown. Ronda is pregnant. They're expecting their first child together. She is, I believe, 4 months pregnant. The baby is due around September 22nd. I think is the actual due date that's been made public. So again, all on that. Congratulations on the personal side. This, of course, relevant on the wrestling side, Alfred, because this means that she will not be around until at least September. And this is coming off when WWE President Nick Khan had said last week that both Rousey and Becky Lynch would be back. I'm paraphrasing here, but sooner than later.
Yeah, sooner than September. In terms of, if you listen to the tone of that interview, it made it seem like, that started drumming up rumors that either of them could be around during WrestleMania. But if it's 4 months pregnant, I just wonder whether or not WWE's known about this and that's still factored in their plans in terms of when she could be back. Because, it's very hard to plan around motherhood. You don't know how much time she's going to want to spend with the newborn baby, and whether or not she feels her body is back to where it needs to be, or how long that's going to take. So I don't know when WWE found out about Ronda Rousey's pregnancy, but if they found out about it before Nick Khan made those statements, I mean, it's really hard to project when she's going to be back, knowing that she's this beautiful change in her life. But listen, Becky Lynch has been out for more than a year, and she doesn't seem like she's coming back anytime soon, even though they said that she's one of them who should be back. So Lord knows when that means Ronda Rousey is going to come back to WWE.
Yeah, I feel like, well, first the Ronda specifically. I think we also all have to acknowledge Ronda Rousey showed up in WWE, so she got to fulfill her dream as a pro wrestling fan. Came off of all the accolades the MMA world, had all that MMA aura. She came in, she got to work 2 Mania matches. She got to work a premier marquee Mania match, against Triple H and Stephanie. Then she got to win the women's title, go in as champion, and the first ever women's main event at a WrestleMania. She loses, but it's pro wrestling. Losing just as good as winning if it's in the right scenario. So, Ronda Rousey got to walk in as champion in the last match of WrestleMania. CM Punk didn't even get to do that, and he was around for a hell of a lot longer. So my point is, we all might have to actually accept that there might not be anything else that Ronda Rousey needs to do or wants to do. We might have seen the last WWE match of Ronda Rousey, potentially. She might, I mean, of course, she'll be associated with the brand. She'll be an ambassador. She'll go into the Hall of Fame, but she might legitimately be done in terms of a continuous storyline run. That's something we actually have to acknowledge, especially if she becomes a mom and goes, yeah, I don't want to go back out there and risk my body. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, they need her more than she needs them. And she had a good run in WWE. It's not like she has something to atone for in terms of how she was presented. I thought she was very good and very comfortable as a pro wrestling wrestler, very believable. She could have done that for as long as she wanted. And from the standpoint of being a perfectionist, I mean, what is there to accomplish other than maybe getting her win back, maybe a one-on-one against Becky as a match that I know a lot of people were excited for leading up to WrestleMania that didn't necessarily happen. So maybe that's something, but it's more or less fans kind of wanting to see Ronda Rousey come back and what she could do there than it's like Rousey has any type of desire to come back.
Yeah, and and to the point of, when does Becky come back? And when, it's like, and obviously we always play in the factor of like, well, when they get the live fans back, when they start touring, when they need to sell tickets in different cities every week. I'm very glad that here we are on April 21st, that we appear to be in a much better place than we were a year ago. A year ago, when this was all very new, this being the pandemic. A year later, we have several vaccines, 200 million shots, I think is what President Biden announced today. We see fans back in arenas for sporting events. Like it's slowly coming back, and so I think we all eye, both based on the vaccine schedules of rollout and in the pro wrestling world. I think we are all starting to eye the end of the summer, the start of the fall is like SummerSlam, and then they're back, and then we get back, and that's in a TV world. That's the new season premiere for Raw, and September comes. I think that's what we all are kind of unspoken. We have kind of got this target date of what is by the time we get to the fall, we're back to normal. And so it's like, I almost feel like between now and then, is it kind of like this weird purgatory of like, let's just sit on our hands. And now that we can actually finally see a finish line and comprehend this horrible pandemic, and that we actually might be at a finish line and be back to regular touring again, do we just sit on our hands and let's not spoil this surprise? Let's not spoil this great idea for a Thunderdome.
Yeah. Absolutely. And if there's any semblance of a home stretch, which there absolutely is, I know WWE is itching to get back. Now you should be in the mode where it's like, okay, but do we want that in front of a crowd or not? And when that answer, like Ronda Rousey, is clearly you want that in front of a crowd. With Becky Lynch, I think clearly you'd want that in front of a crowd. That's definitely something that they should sit on, because it's really not that much more time between now and the fall.
Yeah, that's what happens if they do SummerSlam in front of a crowd like they did Mania. And then if the next night, if that Raw is finally back in front of a crowd, that Raw will feel like what the Raws after Mania normally feel like. That'll be the true reset. That'll be all hands on deck. Let's unload the surprises. Let's unload the big angles. It's kind of what this feels like. So we'll see. But it's exciting. We can even talk.
I know. I can't listen. You presenting it like that. I can't wait for that. That's going to be awesome.
The fact that we can even start to identify specific days that we might be getting back to is a great feeling. Thank you, everybody, for the super chats. Alfred, what do you got going on at Forbes.com?
Oh, follow me on Forbes. I got the reviews of AEW and NXT both nights. Going to have some stuff later on tonight. And I also have some more stuff on the Vice TV deal with MLW with comments from Court Bowers. So follow me on Twitter at This Is Nasty as well.
Great stuff. Great stuff. You can catch me on the Wrestling Daily tomorrow, Friday morning. I'll be on Busted Open Radio on Sirius XM channel 156 with Dave LaGreca and Mark Henry. I think I'll be back here next Monday night after Raw, so you can hit the follow button at Justin LaBar. He's at This Is Nasty. Thanks, everybody, for super chats. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the comments that even weren't super chats. We love that you guys are still engaging in the show the entire time. And whether you listen to us live, whether you listen to this tomorrow, Thursday, during your road trip or during your break or whatever, we appreciate it. Tell a friend. If you like it, tell a friend so they can start to tune in and enjoy the wonderfulness that is the Wrestling Podcast, especially on Wednesday nights with Alfred and me. Thanks. Be good. Take care. We're out.